Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Open your mind and let go of the fears of midlife and aging. Some people see midlife as a time of stress and overwhelm, but we're not going to do that. We see midlife as an opportunity for continued learning and growth. Life's a journey, not a destination. It's a continual process and can get better all the time. And the best part, you can write your own rules. So in each Midlife Magic episode, we're going to have conversations with interesting and cool people that will give you the inspiration and know-how on how to live your best life. Are you ready? Let's go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Midlife Magic podcast. My name is Lisa Mustard. You guys know me from the therapy show with Lisa Mustard, but over the past couple of months, I've been pivoting my show just a tad to bring in other topics that I am super passionate about. And one of those is helping women live their best lives as they move into midlife. Now, I know you guys have heard me say I define midlife really starting around 35 and up, mainly because that's when I noticed things started to shift for me. And I'm not just talking about physical shifts. I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about career. I'm talking about all the shifts, parents getting older, just all the stuff that kind of happens when we're in our sometimes late 30s, early 40s. And now at 47, oh my gosh, 47. I can say that I'm really just loving the skin I'm in. I'm loving my relationships. I'm loving the direction of my work. And I really want to help you guys, you ladies out there, guys too, find your flow, find your balance, and live authentically and congruently. And with that being said, I want to update you guys a little bit more about what's going on in the Mustard House. So our girls started they started online school today. Our district is 100% online starting because of COVID-19. So they are in the other room right now, both glued to their laptops in the same room with each other. And I just hope that, what doesn't break loose as I do this podcast recording with my friend Kim Jefferson. What else is going on? So I'm still accepting life coaching clients. You can learn more about my life coaching on my website, lisamustard.com. You can grab a free consultation with me. I also have been helping some more clients with their personal branding. And personal branding to me is really how you show up on social media. And how do you know what your personal brand is? It's kind of like what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. So what are you known for? And I talk to a lot of my therapist friends. I talk to a lot of my friends in direct sales, and they really want to grow their visibility on social media. And I'm convinced increasing your visibility and growing your brand is the best thing you can do for yourself. I also want to encourage y'all, even if you're not sure the direction you want to go in with an online business, start thinking about your personal brand now. It's never too early to start thinking about your personal brand if that's something that you want to do down the road. What else is going on? Okay, one more thing, and then I'm going to jump into this interview. So my husband, Billy Mustard, has these amazing bazooka bars. If you want to, let's just say in your midlife, things get achier, joints start to get creakier, and maybe you're looking, Kim's laughing at me because she knows what I'm talking about. Like maybe you're looking for a way to still do pull-ups, still do rows, still do all the fun stuff, a pull day, but you need some support. So he has created the bazooka bars, and what makes them unique is they have a thicker diameter, so they're easier on your joints. And you guys can go to his website, abnormalstrength.com, to order and see the bazooka bars. He's also over on Instagram. You can follow him at Abnormal Strength. I think it's Abnormal Strength Training, or I'll link it in the comments. I can never remember. But in the meantime, so thanks everybody for listening to what's going on in my life. And I am so excited to have my friend Kim Jefferson on the show today. Welcome to Midlife Magic, Kim. So glad you're here.
I'm excited to be here too. One, I just love hearing what you have going on in your life, especially, I think now for a lot of us, we have that hybrid life going on right now.
Yes, I know, totally. And I think that's hybrid. I mean, that's a great way of looking at it. Hybrid, matrix, flowchart. Like, I don't even know.
I know, work is home and home is work and school is school and
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's just a wild time in our generation. So I know who you are and I know what you do, but tell the audience, our listeners, who you are and who you help.
I am a health and wellness coach, and I help women over 40 to feel fit, fabulous, and confident in their bodies.
I love it. And I know you've helped me over the years. You're one of my go-to coaches when I need a kick or when I need a boost, when I need a pep talk. You're always there for me. So I'm really excited for our listeners to learn from you today and hear from you because I know you got some wisdom.
Well, actually, I just started a podcast about a year ago, and I want to say, it's been a labor of love. I told back in the day, I remember my fifth grade teacher, Miss Maffetone. So if you're still alive, hey girl, that I said I wanted to be a talk show host. And, back in the day, like there wasn't, every person had a talk show. Like there was freaking just Phil Donahue, right?
Right.
like he was a talk show host, and then like Oprah came on and just like blew everything up. And I said, I want to be a talk show host because like, I feel like I'm better talking, right? You can read my blog stuff, you can read all of that, but I feel like I express myself better talking. You can hear that I care. Like, and also there were just conversations that, we have at parties that are just sometimes truncated or get cut off, or like, I don't know the answer. And I'm like, you know what? There's someone who knows the answer to this, and I'm going to find them and we're going to have the conversation. I'm going to ask all the questions that you can't ask in like a 2-minute like conversation over like coffee.
Right. Yeah. And I love your podcast because it's so funny you say that you really do thrive when you're talking and when I get a chance to watch you and listen to you. I always learn something. I always have such a good time. So tell everybody, like, what's your show? What's it about? What do you cover?
So it's called Fake Girl Magic. And basically, it's all of those conversations that you always wanted to have, but you didn't know who to ask. And, when I started, I'm looking up on my wall here, and taped to my wall, I had 70 things that I wanted to talk about. I just literally was like, what would I want to talk about? And my goal was to either, if I didn't know about it, was to find someone to talk about. So we've talked about sleep, menopause, mindset, habits, starting to work out. We've talked about being an empty nester, all the things that affect people who are 40 something, right? And it's, yeah, sure, absolutely. Health is always going to be 80% of my conversation, but we all have lives, right? And so we need to talk about, I want to have a conversation about, dealing with aging parents.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with an aging parent who you're dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's, or maybe your spouse has early onset Alzheimer's? Like, how does that affect you, your mental health, your self-care? Like, those are that's life that's affecting us right now.
Yeah. And it's all intertwined. If your physical health is not great, then it might affect your mental health, your emotional health. And if your emotional health isn't great, it could affect your physical health. I mean, it all is intertwined, your relationships, your work. Like, I really love your show. It was it's great. I love every time I get a notification you have an episode. I'm like, all right, Fit Girl Magic. So
yeah, that's my goal. Like, I want people to take away at least one thing. And I always, I know I give a dirty word ton of stuff. And I always say, pick one thing, because it's so easy. Just like, your therapist, Lisa, and like how many people come into you and they're like, here are all my problems.
Right.
And you're like, okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I can help you with all of them, but we're going to have to start one at a time.
Right. Yeah. And so they're interconnected too. So I think we all, well, I don't know, so much as I've gotten older, like I recognize that like there's not an overnight fix. There's things, factors, past history that all plays into what I'm experiencing today. Yeah. And so I really just love your show. You give just amazing guidance and support and advice, and you let women know that it's never too late to reach your goals. And that's one of the reasons I enjoy hanging out with you so much, is like we get each other. It's so fun. So I'm so glad you're here. So can you can you go back a little bit and tell more about your history and your story, how you got here?
So, I was like everyone, right? You start working out, you start feeling it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden life happens and you get out of it. And then you're like, oh, I just go back to doing, add water and repeat. And, as you mentioned, like, I think it was like when I hit 32, my body was like, oh, girlfriend, we don't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was such a shock for me because I love the gym. I love food a little too much. And I was like, I was so lost, and I was really lost. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I just literally felt like I was bumping into walls. And so I kind of started to break down like, okay, what do I need? right? Where do I turn? What do I do? And it really, for me, was like, I got to get some better habits.
Mm-hmm.
We all have the habit, and I hope everyone's nodding along, of like depriving. Okay, I'm going on a diet on Monday, and there's going to be no this, no that, no this, and double that, and double workouts. And then by Wednesday, you're burnt the dirty word out and you're ready to start again on Monday. And that was my habit. That was my cycle of go big or go home. And I was always going home.
Right. Yeah, no, I can relate on a lot of levels. And you at one point were a figure competitor, right? Or a bikini competitor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for me, it was like, I found figure competing because like, I thought that was going to save me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, it was a hardcore goal. And at the time I was of the mindset, everything had to be hard.
Right.
Right. That like fitness and life couldn't be easy. If I didn't work hard, why do it?
Right.
And I mean, I competed for 9 years, and it was like, I still lived in that. If I didn't have a show, I was eating like an a-hole
Mm-hmm.
and then trying to take it off. And the more I tried, the harder it was to compete. The harder it was for me to get to that physique that I had when I first started, because my body was like, girl, we ain't doing this anymore. You got to stop treating us like crap.
Yeah. That is a story that I've heard so many times from different women who have been in the world of competition and bikini contests, and, in a competition where you really have to shift your physique to be at a certain level. So I totally, mean, I've heard that a lot.
And like, my mindset was never right. It was always, if I didn't have a show, why bother?
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of women can relate to that. It's like, maybe it's going on a vacation, right? You like tighten up because I'm going to Aruba. And then once Aruba happens, you're like, it's a party. And so, we all kind of fall into that competing, not competing, and if someone is listening and they are a competitor, I loved competing. I did it for 9 years. It's something I don't look back and regret. I had made some of my best friends, and it also helped me to go on this trajectory of like, how do I help women break free of that, vacation, show, wedding mindset, and think of the long term.
Right. Yeah, I totally can relate to that on a lot of levels. I think there's something I don't know if it's something that gets into our skin when we are into our blood, when we first find the weight room, and we just love it. Like, we just so love it. And our brain starts to go, well, what if I wanted to compete one day? Or thinking, oh, that'll keep me in this shape,
yes,
keep me in this leanness or whatever. And yeah, I can totally relate. So what happened for you when you finally decided to kind of get off that roller coaster? Because it sounds like you were on a roller coaster of a season, like your competition season. But there was probably like mini cycles within those seasons too.
Well, I finally was like, I felt burnt out. I remember I was on the Stairmaster at the gym, and I was getting ready for show, and it was my birthday. And I'm on the Stairmaster, and I'm like, and my husband texted me right before I got on the Stairmaster. He's like, I know you have an hour of cardio. I found a place that can make you white fish and asparagus for dinner. I've made a reservation, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, is this my bleeping life that my husband is calling restaurants to find someone who can make me plain white fish?
Wow. Yeah.
And here I am on the Stairmaster with an hour of cardio. And I started crying. And I'm not a crier. So I'm on the Stairmaster, I'm crying, and I'm like, oh my God, like, this is not my life. This can't be my life. Like, it can't be, my life can't revolve around my food and my workouts. So, I of course finished the hour, because I was like, I have to finish the hour. And I'm like crying the whole time on the Stairmaster. People are looking at me, and I'm just like, I can't. I'm like, I just make it look like sweat. And then I leave, and I had to take the bus home. And I'm on the bus crying again. And I'm like, okay, first of all, what's this crying?
Right.
I'm not a crier. And two, I was like, this is a sign. Like, if I am this worked up over this, it's time for me to figure some stuff out. Because clearly my body must be crying. Of course, during the moment, I didn't have these insights, but hindsight being 2020, I was like, that was my body's way of saying, girl, like, we can't. We've given you multiple signals, and you've just like blown past me. You've just blown past every signal I've got. And so like, I just had to make you cry. And I was like literally crying on the bus ride home, And I get to our front door. I walk in the door and my husband sees me crying. And he's like, okay, did something happen? Like he's, expecting me to tell some tale of woe. And I was like, I can't compete anymore. And he's like, that it? Like he was, he was expecting like someone beat me over the head on the way home. And I was like, I can't compete anymore. And I just had to break down. Like my body physically just had to like break down. We went out to dinner that night. I was like, all right, I'm not competing anymore. But then the next morning I was like, well, who the hell am I? Like it had become my identity. Everybody at the gym knew what I did. Everyone in the gym knew when I had a show, or they would ask me about a show. And I was like, if I don't do this show, am I a failure? Who am I without this? Who am I without being at the gym 2 hours a day? Like, what does that look like? And it took me probably about, I'm going to say a good 6 months to like get my head around this new life.
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. I think that makes, if that's been your identity for so long, that's been your purpose, you think, I say purpose. I know you have a bigger purpose than that, but in your mind, that was it. That's your vision. That's what you do. That's who I am. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it's kind of like, some people probably listening who are mommies, right? And your kid, maybe gets to that age where they don't need you as much. You're not the cool mom anymore. Or they go off to college and you're just like, you're looking around. You're like, I don't have anyone to drive anywhere. No one to make dinner for. Like, what do I do next?
Right. Yeah, I know. And I totally I can relate to that. Yeah. Ooh, totally relate to that. However, I think I'm turning into that. I'm not the cool mom anymore some days with my 12-year-old. So
right. It's like the first day your 12-year-old's like, Mom, so why don't you drop me at the corner?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Okay, well, let's shift a little bit and talk about, so you went through that 6 months of like, who am I? How do I define myself? And then how did you kind of come out of that? What did that look like for you?
So, it wasn't, I want to say technically until this year that I was able to define it, but I started kind of just looking at what I was going through, looking at what my clients were going through, and how is it really helping people, right? Like when you're in the weeds of work, you don't really like take that kind of bird's eye view and be like, how am I helping these people? Is there a system to the work? Finally I said, you know what? I kind of make people work their reps. And what that means is I ask people if what they're doing is realistic. Right. So if someone comes to me and says, I want to do keto, regardless of what I think about it, I'm going to be like, okay, let's work the reps so that they can feel empowered. Because when I was competing, I didn't really feel empowered. I felt guided by a plan. Yeah. And when I didn't have a plan anymore, I was lost. Mm-hmm. And so I remember like some girls would text me, they're like, Kim, you said kiwi or grapefruit, and they have both. What should I choose? And I was like, dude, that's not like what life should be about, right? Like you're a grown ass woman. You should be able to like make that decision, go out to dinner with your sweetie, and not, there's nothing on here that's on my plan.
Right.
So I said, okay, so the first thing I always say to people is like, all right, let's just break it down. Is what you're trying to do realistic? Mm-hmm. And, and realistic for your life. I have a client who's a tax attorney. During tax season, her trying something new ain't going to be a good idea. But right now, when things are a little slower, yeah, sure, let's try something new. Let's see what's possible for you right now before, tax season gets cuckoo. Mm-hmm. Then the next piece is like, are you excited about it? Mm-hmm. Right? Could I have done the show? Absolutely. Could have done the show. But was I excited about it? Not at all. I was not excited. Like, so if you're not excited about it, if you don't spring out of bed and wonder about the possibilities of like achieving this goal, it's not long-term. Like right. You can only do willpower and motivation for but so long before you're like, I'm done.
Right. Yeah. You can only white knuckle it for so long. Really.
Right.
Totally.
Exactly. And so then the other piece is like, can you make a plan in your life without doing like gymnastics, right? The fact that like, my husband was like, oh, I called all these restaurants for you. Like, really? That shouldn't be what you have to do. Like, I should be able to go to any restaurant on the planet, including McDonald's, mm-hmm. and find something healthy to eat.
Yeah.
So, it was like, can you make a plan for it in your life without it being, gymnastics. I'm talking like, double A, Olympic level gymnastics. You shouldn't have to do that in your life.
Right.
And then lastly, is it sustainable, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, can I do this for longer than 30 days? Could I do this for 3 months? Could I do it for 3 years? And if I answered all of those questions about whatever it was I was choosing, then I knew I was going to be successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Reps. That's your
Reps.
framework. I like that a lot. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And, the thing I like about it also is like, that could be for life. You're making a job decision, right? Maybe you have to drive an hour a day. Is that realistic for you? Are you excited about being in your car for at least an hour a day? Like, it's anything. And it gives me power, but also gives my clients power where, you're a life coach. So you know that your client has the answers. They come to you and they think you have the answers, but it's your client has the answers, and you just help them to like peel back certain levels of themselves that they were like, oh, I never even knew to open that door.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I love that. And it sounds like you work with them individually and help them peel back the layers and kind of like really drill down into, why do you want to do this? Is this realistic? Are you excited about it? Do you have a plan? And is it sustainable? I think I just got it. Woo-hoo,
You did.
I got your reps. Awesome.
Yeah. And, because you've been there. Like, how many times have you gone on some godforsaken diet?
Yeah.
And by Wednesday, you're dying, but you're like, you suck it up, and you can suck it up for like 30 days. You could suck it up for, 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point you're like, you're missing whatever it is that you're missing. And then you just go hog wild.
Right. Yes, I've been there. It's been a while since I've done that. Because for me, I was so miserable doing that I had to look for a better way. And better for me was trying different things. And when I finally came across what works for me, I just, go back to it. But I make it work for my lifestyle. And I'm not like super rigid. I want to enjoy food. I want to enjoy taking a couple days off from working out, not feel guilty about it, and got to find that sweet spot. But when you do find it, it's like you're in this flow and
right,
like magical in a sense.
Exactly. Like, you got to a point where, like, I like to call it effortless. And so many people want to live in that, like, body bliss, if you will. Mm-hmm. Right. But we get caught up in diet culture that tells us if it's not hard, you're not doing it right.
Right.
Like I had to find a place. Yeah. Never saying to them, I'm going to have ice cream. That's stupid. Like, I want to be able to, on like a hot summer day, have ice cream if I want to have ice cream, or have a chocolate chip cookie or whatever it is, and not be like, well, I had it because, and justify it. Right. I had it because I freaking wanted it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And own it and realize like it's something I want. Yeah. I find that to be the case for me these days. Do you have any other habits that have really kind of propelled you into finding this fluidity? Or
one of the biggest habits, how kind of this started, was I needed to get consistent, right? Because I was consistently blowing up my diet and then blowing up my diet and restricting. And I was like, all right, I need to find consistency. So it was like, I need to start creating what I called my non-negotiables. I was like, what can I commit to that doesn't feel hard?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like when I brush my teeth, I always kind of evaluate my day. And I was like, how did today go? And not in a beat the crap out of yourself way, but more in a, I think it was elementary school. Like, you got these grades of like, needs improvement or satisfactory. Right. And so I would always give myself needs improvement or satisfactory. Right. Because I was like, I was also a perfectionist. So I was like, if I try to go with excellent, I'm going to become that like over striver, A++ person. I need to break up with her. Like, she's driving me nuts. So
right.
It needs improvement or it's satisfactory. And so I was like, what are 3 simple things I know I can do day in and day out that makes me feel healthy? And so the first one was like, all right, sleep. Right. I was like, at the time I wasn't sleeping because I was doing 2 workouts a day, and all right, I need to like focus on my sleep. So I was like, all right, I can sleep. So I need to sleep 7 hours a day. And I would always like, whatever time I needed to get up, I would count 7 hours back and be like, okay, I need to be in bed and lights out at this time. Mm-hmm. Then the second thing, I was like, all right, vegetables. I'm fortunate that I like vegetables, but I was like, how do I get in all my vegetables? Because, at the time I was personal training and working a full-time corporate job. So I was like, how do I like make sure I get all my vegetables in? I was like, you know what? I like salad. So if I have a salad every single day for lunch, I can easily put in 2 to 3 cups of multiple vegetables in there and get in my protein. So I was like, all right, I'm going to have a salad every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And then my last thing was, all right, let's talk about my body. Well, I know that going to the gym 2 hours a day isn't going to be realistic for me long term. I was already burning out. So I said, what if I just said for 3 to 5 days, I'm going to move my body? And that movement could be anything. It could be, sometimes it's just me doing foam rolling.
Right.
Sometimes it's me going for a walk, and sometimes it's like a full blown workout. And so I was like, if I look at my week and I schedule, last week, my schedule was 3 days. My week blew up. 2 workouts just couldn't happen because of my schedule. And I got in 3. And I was like, great. I always say good, better, best. It wasn't the best workout week, but it was a good week. I was still able to get into those 3 workouts. And so that had helped me to break free of that like perfectionist, that drive. And I still feel like, you know what? I honored my health. So I can brush my teeth and be like, did I honor my health today? And, 9 times out of 10, I say yes. And like, for example, I was supposed to work out on Saturday. I ended up having to come in and teach a class. And I was like, you know what? I needed to teach that class because that woman, has helped me in the past. It was what it was.
Right. Yeah. I like those habits. They make so much sense and they're so doable.
Right.
Yeah. You're not asking to like, okay, 3 hours in the gym and then hit all these macros. And, I can relate. I can relate for sure.
Yeah, right. And I always say to my clients, I'm like, those are my 3. And I'm just giving to you as an example so you can see. Mm-hmm. But like, think about it. Okay, so maybe you scroll a little bit too much on your phone. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's it. And so maybe when you work out, you lock your phone in the locker. Mm-hmm. Right? Like maybe that's what you do.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're not drinking enough water. I can't remember the books, but I remember reading them as a kid. That was like kind of choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like you choose your own adventure. So it's like kind of think about like the big, rocks of fitness. Mm-hmm. What is going to work for you? So that, as Lisa said, she found her sweet spot so that you could find your sweet spot. And I've been doing these like 3 things for probably, I'd say about a good 4 years now. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, you know what? I think it's time for me to move on to the next 3. And, mm-hmm. and think to myself, what are 3 other things I would love to start to incorporate? Because these 3 are pretty much automatic. Like they're now routines. They're now things I don't even think about. It's just what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. And I'm similar with my habits. And that's what you're doing. You're building habits.
Right.
You're taking time to like build these habits. And then once they become almost, like you said, effortless and you flow with them, you pick more habits. So I think that's really wise. And that takes the pressure off of yourself to have this like timeline or, I got to do it by my high school reunion or I got to do it by this. Well, we're not really getting together these days, but like this event you have in your head because a lot of times that's what I hear from women is like, well, I have my high school reunion or I have a wedding and I want to fit into this dress. And it's just like, I feel, I get it. Like I understand, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm hoping that if you have something planned next year and you're listening to us today, you will get into these habits that get you into a flow that by the time we get there, you're effortlessly fitting into the dress you want. And you're going to feel so good because you've conquered your confidence and it's such a great feeling because there's nothing like a kick in the confidence when you work so hard for an event and then the event is over and then you go back to old habits. You almost feel like, well, what didn't work? What didn't stick? What did I do? And, we could probably pick apart, like we know what you did.
Right.
But that doesn't help your mindset and it doesn't help your confidence. So I'm about building confidence and finding success in those small things, on daily. This episode of the Midlife Magic podcast is sponsored by my favorite fitness apparel, Zaya Active. I discovered Zaya Active when I went looking for high quality and premium workout clothes, just like those luxury store and catalog brands, yet I wanted a budget-friendlier price tag. I love this brand because I live a very active lifestyle. I work out about 5 days a week, plus I love to go for runs and long walks, which I consider to be my very important self-care and podcast listening time. The clothes stay put, I'm not constantly pulling on my leggings or tugging on my sports bras, and they accentuate me in all the right places. And when I work from home, they are the perfect clothes for being comfortable and still stylish. And I can transition to running out the door to pick up our girls or run errands while still looking put together in my athleisure styles. My favorite workout leggings are the Lighten Tights, and my favorite everyday wear are the Everywhere pants. Yes, I literally wear them everywhere, every day. I can even wear them to business meetings or client consultations, and I can dress them up or down easily. Want to learn more? Head over to lisamustard.com and click on the activewear page. You can learn all about Zaya Active, the mission, the clothes, and see if they are a fit for you and your active life. From weight training to running to Zumba to yoga to CrossFit to bar to walking to tennis, Zaya Active has you covered. And don't forget about the active men in your life. They have an amazing men's line plus clothes for active kids too. That's Zaya like papaya active. So see my site for all the details. That's lisamustard.com/active-wear.
I love what you said. And it's great to have that long-term goal. It's great to be like, I want to look great on vacation. That's a great goal. But I always look at it as, I always say that you have like medium range goals and you have long range goals. And so like, ultimately when I work with my clients, I want their ultimate goal is that, they want to have these like long-term sustainable habits because they're consistent and they have great routines so that when they do go on vacation, they don't come back like bumping into a wall. Like, what do I do now? Like, I don't know. Or like they're on vacation and they eat like a jackass and they're like, oh my God, I blew it. And, I have to come back to find the most restrictive thing possible to get back to where I was. And, I want you to think about like, it's okay for me to open up my diet on vacation. Like, it's okay for me to have like a couple of glasses of wine and be okay with it. And just the biggest thing I always always say is like, have a plan, right? And I'm not in an anal retentive plan. It's like, just so I'm going on vacation and I choose that I'm going to have 2 drinks. Boom, done. Great. Awesome. Or maybe you're going to a place that has great food and just say, this is what I'm going to enjoy for my food. And just know that, map it out so that you're like, I'm going to enjoy it so that you don't spend half your vacation beating the crap out of yourself or just going to that like F it place and just, release the hounds.
Right.
So that when you come back, you're like, you know what? That was last week.
Yeah.
I had a great vacation. And now this is what I'm coming back to. And this is these are the goals that I'm working towards when I come back.
Right. Yep. I love that. And honestly, that's how I handled our vacation this summer. Was I didn't worry about it. I just listened to my body. I don't even think I lifted a weight. I just hiked and had a good time and came back. And it was like, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel guilty because I prepared myself for it. And then along the way, just made sensible choices. I still enjoyed everything that presented, but just came back and got right back into the smoothness of things for myself.
Right. Vacation is more about just getting away from everyday life. Like it shouldn't be, it's a vacation from eating sensibly, right? Of course, like if you're somewhere that has like here in New England, like it's all about like the seafood in the summertime. So it's like if you're somewhere that has a great lobster roll, enjoy it.
Right.
Enjoy it. Don't like scrutinize the chef and tell them how to make it. Just enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. I love it. This has been such a great conversation. So where can folks find you if they want to learn more about what you do and if they can work with you?
So you can find me at my website, which is kimbarnesjefferson.com.
Uh-huh.
You could also find me on Instagram, Kim Jefferson Coach.
Okay, awesome. We will link all of that into the show notes and we will definitely make sure people know where to find you. Can I ask you a couple questions before we go?
Sure.
I want to ask you, because you and I think, are the same generation or Generation X, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So what is your favorite show from the 90s?
Oh my God, a favorite show from the 90s. Like, The 90s wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, I'm like, I will admit, like I do watch a lot of TV. So I'm like, what did I like in the 90s? Well, you know what? I started watching over again, Law and Order. I really love that show.
Yeah. I love it too. I love that show too. I loved it. And what about your favorite music from the 90s?
Oh my God, the 90s. It's so funny because I'm still teach group fitness and I still play a lot of music from the 90s. Oh, wow. Like
Oh my God. I'm like, you can look at my iPod. And just
Yeah.
like,
That's awesome.
I'm like, what did I like from the 90s? I'm one of those people that are like all over the map as far as music. I love TLC, Rihanna. Yeah. There was just, and it's so funny because like 80s and 90s kind of blur together for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But yeah, I'm like, I'm at a loss for like 90s.
That's okay. Yeah, it's kind of a weird question because my brain, like, I go to, okay, well, I listen to a lot of Oasis and U2, but that could have been like, I don't even know when that
80s.
was. It could have been like
Right.
the
I was
early
like,
2000s. I don't know.
yeah, I know.
And then if you could give some advice to your 20-something self, what would that be now that you know what you know?
Oh my God, girl, I would sit her down and we would have a TED talk. I think my biggest thing I would tell my 20-something self is to just slow the F down. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's so true. Yeah. That's good. And what's the worst fitness or diet advice you've ever been given?
Oh, the eat less, exercise more.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah. I remember like living off of like, 0 to 1 carb and trying to like think.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Oh, I hear you. Okay. Well, Kim, this has been such a fun conversation. I'm excited for everybody to get to know you more and to follow you and to get into your world. So thanks so much for being here. This has just been so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
You're welcome. Well, that's this week's episode of the Midlife Magic podcast.
Don't forget to join us next time for another episode. Thank you for listening.